There's usually a pretty clear tier list with Call of Duty guns, and there's always been a handful of guns that everybody in the community can agree are the best, but sometimes a gun comes along that confuses people. Sometimes a gun comes along that doesn't have amazing stats, or isn't very easy to use, and yet a segment of the community latches onto it. They insist that it deserves more love. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. Today's video was suggested by viewer DinoXAceX, and he wanted to see a list of Colt guns in Call of Duty. So you know what? We're going to do it. So welcome to the channel. Now, these are going to be my picks for the 10 Colt classic guns in Call of Duty. These are the guns that were never considered top tier, never super popular in the multiplayer, and yet they still have legions of fans that come into the YouTube comment sections and insist they were better than you and I remember. So you let me know what your favorite Colt classic gun in Call of Duty history is. Drop a like if you guys are enjoying the content lately, and I have a quick question. I don't know if you noticed, but OG Fortnite is coming December 6th. And when I say OG, Chapter 1, Season 1. Season 1, loot pool, map, everything. Should we bring back the OG Chaos Fortnite top 10s right alongside all the Call of Duty we're doing? You guys let me know in the comment section. At number 10 today is the Razorback in Black Ops 3. Now, I remember when Black Ops 3 beta first dropped. The Razorback was OP. Treyarch obviously knew they had to do something about it for the full release, but they went way too far, because the launch version of the Razorback was widely seen as the worst SMG in the game because of its low rate of fire. I mean, the moderate damage per shot wasn't anything to call home about either, and a ton of people stuck with it. They did, all the way through Black Ops 3's life cycle, because the accuracy was good. I mean, it had decent range. Middle ground between AR and an SMG. Definitely was not a great SMG in terms of stats, and I can understand why many people called it the worst SMG in the game, because in terms of raw time to kill, it was true. But it did have a following. I mean, it had a following because it had that silky smooth handling, and for that, I think it's a good way to start this list. But you let me know, do you remember the beta version of the Razorback? It was insane. At number 9, the Scorpion in Black Ops. Now, we are all aware of the fact that the AK-74U was the only SMG in the original Black Ops worth anybody's time. We're also all aware of the fact that basically every SMG in the original Black Ops, except for the 74U, was absolutely terrible. But there is one submachine gun from Black Ops 1 that people tried to convince themselves, and me, was good for some reason, and it was a Scorpion. SMG had very moderate damage. Tiny little 20-round magazine, and it simply it wasn't going to stand up to the other SMGs in the game, let alone the AK-74U, but it did have a decent akimbo option. And that's what people latched onto. The Black Ops 1 Scorpion is it's a Colt gun. It is, because even though we all acknowledge the fact that almost every SMG in the game was complete crap, the Scorpion maintained this little following because of its akimbo option. I'll admit, it was fun to use, but that doesn't make it good. At number 8, the PP2000 in Modern Warfare 2, 2009. Now, MW2 had some of the most broken secondary weapons in COD history. Raffica, Spaz, Rangers, Models, G18s. We could go on and on. But to this day, there's people out there who insist the PP2000 was the best of the bunch, despite its awkward handling and obvious shortcomings compared to everything else in the game. Starting machine pistol in Modern Warfare 2. It did have super low recoil, had good accuracy, and in return for that, you had a moderate rate of fire and some average damage. It was a laser beam machine pistol. It was perfectly acceptable with its time to kill, but it was going toe-to-toe with things like the M93. Basically just the COD 4 M16 in pistol form. And then, of course, the Akimbo Model 1887s, which I don't even need to elaborate on. Nobody was putting the PP at the top of the secondary weapon list, and yet a lot of people, they loved it. Something about the handling, something about the lack of recoil made it great to have in your back pocket if you were sniping. If you needed a backup weapon, it was easy to use, I guess. So if you were in the PP2000 fan club back in the day, I mean, I respect it, but I'm not going to join. At number 7, the PM9 in Modern Warfare 3, 2011. Now, it was overshadowed by the PP90 and the MP7 in the game, and for obvious reasons. The PM9 was awkward. It was a one-handed SMG that a lot of people completely dismissed because of that recoil and lack of mid-range shredding power like the other SMGs had. But what it did have going for it was some ultra-tight hip-fire accuracy, and it had a super high rate of fire. It made it fun for ultra-aggressive playstyles. It fired at 1,100 rounds per minute. That's wild. Could kill in as little as 3 bullets. I mean, I know the recoil was high if you aimed down the sights, but if you just hip-fired, it was actually pretty accurate for some reason. That made it the ideal choice for people who like to run around tight corridors and spray bullets at enemy players without being too precise. So on maps like Dome and Hard Hat, I get it. And I understand how it garnered a cult following over the years, so I'm not gonna harp too much on this one. At number 6, The Shiva in Black Ops 3. Now, this caused a lot of discussions in the COD community when Black Ops 3 came out because it's one of the strangest semi-auto rifles in the franchise up until this point. Semi-auto rifle like the Fowler or the M14, but the fire rate cap was extremely low, meaning it could only fire at a maximum of 257 rounds per minute, which is pretty slow. But in order to make up for that super slow fire rate, it hit like a truck. Almost always killed in 2 bullets, and if you were running the high caliber attachment, it was a one-shot kill to the head, which was insane if you sit back and think about it, if you could stay on target. But yeah, everybody had jetpacks. The Shiva had extremely low recoil, so hitting your follow-up shots was easy. Again, it would take a long time for that second bullet to get out of the barrel of your gun because of that fire rate cap. It was not the gun for everybody. I mean, because it was extremely hard to use effectively, but if you did, it was arguably a top-tier weapon because it would instantly kill somebody with a single headshot. So, naturally, there's a lot of Black Ops 3 players who gravitated toward it and insist that it's underrated. You tell me, was it or wasn't it? Now we arrive at the top 5. The SMR in Black Ops 2, I'll never understand. Speaking of semi-auto rifles from Treyarch, it's probably the most infamous because a lot of people, just including myself, thought it was pointless. Semi-auto, killed in 2 bullets with relatively low recoil and a relatively high fire rate cap and a large default magazine. Pretty solid gun on paper, so why are we trashing on it? Because the FAL OSW existed. The Black Ops 2 FAL was a semi-automatic assault rifle, also killed in 2 bullets, but had a higher fire rate cap, larger default mag, and no recoil. So the SMR felt pointless after using both weapons, and yet people still insist it was the better of the two. The main argument in favor of the SMR seems to be the range drop-off, which really was the only stat that it had over the FAL. At long ranges, the FAL would drop off to a 3-shot kill. The SMR was virtually always a 2-shot kill no matter what. But then again, the FAL had no recoil. Higher fire rate cap. If you need a third bullet to kill someone in long range, it wasn't that hard to get that third bullet in them. So this is a cult classic weapon that I wholeheartedly do not agree with because I truly don't understand why would you pick the SMR over the FAL. But this is a list of cult guns in Call of Duty, and the SMR most definitely deserves to be on here. At number 4. The Pharaoh in Black Ops 3, another cult classic that I don't particularly agree with. 4-round burst SMG sounded cool, basically meant to be a pocket version of the iconic M8 assault rifle, sounds cool too. In theory, all that would be great, but there's a bit of a stigma against burst SMGs in Call of Duty multiplayers, and naturally the Pharaoh went overlooked by most of the Black Ops 3 community. A lot of people, myself included, just thought it was awkward. You were better off using a fully automatic, the VMP, the Kuda, the Vesper, whatever. And yet people swore by the Pharaoh. Swore it was just as good as the other SMGs because of how fast that one burst time to kill was, and I get it. If you landed a one burst kill, that TTK was fast. But how often did you actually get a one burst kill? And wouldn't it be easier to just use something full auto and not have to worry about landing all that? I don't know. I didn't understand it. In fact, I never understood the rest of the guns on this list that we're going to talk about, but that's the point of a cult classic. Not everybody's going to agree. At number 3. The FAD. The FAD in the original Modern Warfare 3. Every time I criticize this gun, I get people yelling at me through the comments. And look, it's not that the FAD was bad. I mean, it wasn't bad on paper. It wasn't terrible. It's just that I don't think it was nearly good enough to justify being the final unlock in the entire game. It was a very fast-firing assault rifle with one of the fastest AR fire rates in Call of Duty history. But it also came with bouncy recoil, super low base damage. I mean, you would have to hit someone 3 to 5 times with the FAD in order to drop them, at which point you'd be better off using an SMG because at least an SMG would have a better 3-shot kill range and quicker handling speed. See, that's the problem with the gun. It was meant to be this super fast-firing close-range assault rifle, but I don't really understand why you wouldn't use an SMG if you were looking for something like that, especially in a game like Modern Warfare 3. There was close-range monsters, MP7, PP90s, I mean, the FMs. I just don't get this one, and it reminds me a lot of another assault rifle from the Modern Warfare series that always has defenders in my comment sections, and that segues into number 2. The F2000, Modern Warfare 2 2009. Maybe the most controversial assault rifle in the history of Call of Duty because even after 15 years, and I'm still shaking my head here, in 15 years of discussion, the community cannot decide if it was good or bad. It's one of the last rifles you unlocked in OG Modern Warfare 2. Had a very fast fire rate, but in return, you had some crappy moderate damage per shot, some god-awful iron sights, and some big recoil. Yeah, I don't really think the gun was good. I mean, if you're one of the defenders, I don't see the point of running this thing over any other weapons in the game. ACR, SCAR, FAMAS, freaking M4A1. At least the M4 was easy to stay on target. Now, I do agree that the F2000 had incredible time to kill if you were able to stay on target with magic somehow, but doing that was not easy. I don't understand why so many people insisted on sticking with it. Maybe they liked it because of the weird design or the admittedly cool firing sound, but not me. I'm solidly in the F2000 sucks camp. I am. But there's one other gun that has an even more passionate cult following that I've just gone to battle against the people so many times. At number 1, the Cheekum CQB in Black Ops 2, also known as, yes, the Fart Cannon. It was the first burst fire SMG in COD history, and if you ask me, it was the worst. Come on. Certain corner of the internet, I get it. It's all-time great close-range weapon. Woo! Now, it would fire it at blazing 1,250 rounds per minute. It would fire 3 bullets at a time, with each bullet hitting for 33 base damage. So even though it was a 3-round burst, it couldn't actually get a 1-burst kill without at least 1 headshot. Now, it did have this unique trait compared to other burst weapons in COD, and that was the fact there was no burst delay, meaning you could actually learn the timing of the burst and fire it almost 1,250 rounds per minute. However, here's the problem. You know what other Black Ops 2 gun was fully automatic, had the same base damage as the Cheekum? The Scorpion Evo. Now, when you look at the stats, the Cheekum was quite literally just a 3-round burst version of the Evo, which was one of the best guns in the game. Why would you put work into learning the burst timing of a Cheekum when you could just equip the Evo? Hold down the trigger, get the exact same time to kill, and yet people insist that the Cheekum was underrated because of the lower recoil or the larger magazine. You know what? You can think what you want. I mean, Black Ops 2 is coming up on its 13th birthday, so I'm not going to argue with you guys anymore. You want to be in Camp Cheekum? Go. I'll be over here with the rest of the community in Camp Scorpion. And there you have it, my friends. Let me know where you agree or disagree. I know these comments are going to be spicy. I'll see you soon.